A warm welcome to everyone this afternoon on this historical occasion as we mark the first International Day of Play. We can safely say, I think, that today is as important for play in children's lives as the publication of Rousseau's Aeneid was during the Enlightenment in the 18th century. And testimony to the interest in being with us on this June afternoon is that almost 300 educators across a variety of contexts have registered for our webinar. The Leadership for Inclusion in the Early Programme, or the LINC programme, as it is better known, is delighted to be celebrating children's right to play on this very special day. The LINC programme commenced in 2016 and is delivered by a consortium led by Mary Immaculate College with our partners in Early Childhood Ireland and Maynooth University, Preble Department of Primary and Early Childhood Education. At this point, we are very proud to say that over 5,000 early childhood teachers have graduated from this programme as inclusion coordinators, and we know that many of you are joining us here this evening also. So the LINC programme is located within this agentic, integrated and whole child perspective envisaged in Ashter and Shielta, and more recently, as we know, the primary school curriculum framework for primary and special schools. The pivotal role of playful learning for children's development remains at the core of the LINC programme. Here at MIC, we have been on a crusade over a long period of time to highlight the power of playful learning for children's learning and development. Most recently in March, I know many of you joined us here on the college. We had the third series of our Revolutionising Education Through Play conference, which we hope will now become a biannual event. As we all come to terms with this post-COVID world that has been described as volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous, ensuring our children across early years, primary and post-primary contexts benefit from what we know is a positive aspect of playful learning for children's and indeed for adults' holistic development. Crucially, we know from research that play is an enabler of fostering inclusive environments where all learners experience a sense of belonging and can thrive. In essence, play is truly, we believe, the great equaliser. We are delighted that on March 25th last, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution to establish an International Day of Play on June the 11th annually, commencing this year. In adopting the resolution, the UN specifically reaffirmed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, including its optional protocols, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The focus on asserting children's rights reflects the shift in our understanding of children and childhood that all of us here gathered this evening are very familiar with. Childhood in Western democratic societies has moved from a construct of the child as dependent on adults to a competent, agentic rights bearer. This paradigm shift can be linked to a confluence between the evolving research base on how best children learn and develop and an increasing concern to locate childhood within an enforceable rights framework that safeguards children's welfare. However, even in countries that commit to protecting children's rights, realising children's right to play remains a work in progress. And as we know from the images being flashed across our screens on a daily basis, there are many children for whom this right is being denied and who we remember this evening. We are fortunate to be joined by play champions and experts, Dr. Lisa O'Sullivan, Head of the Department of Reflective Pedagogy and Early Childhood Studies, Shirley Heaney, National Coordinator of the LINC programme, and Fiona Kirkland, Play Pedagogy Officer at Play Scotland this afternoon. I would also like to acknowledge Helena Thompson, our Marketing and Communication expert, who has made this evening possible. So without further ado, I'll hand over in the first instance now to Fiona, who will share her experience of Play Scotland's initiatives, which we know we will all learn from in our quest to protect and promote each child's right to play, being mindful that UNICEF today reminded us that the provision of space and time to play is an indicator that children are safe, loved and nurtured in our world. And that truly is all of our goal here this evening. So Fiona, I will hand over to you now.
Right, so A warm welcome from Scotland. My name's Fiona Kirkland and I'm really delighted to be here with you today to discuss the importance of play for learning and development. I've had a long career and it spans many years of experience in early education settings and schools, including I worked in one of the most deprived areas of Scotland for a while. And that really helped me sort of witness firsthand the impact that play can have on child's development. And at Play Scotland, we're really lucky because I get to work closely with schools. In fact, I was out in a school in Glasgow this morning, actually doing some UN International Day of Play stuff with them. So that was great. And really we collaborate to integrate that play pedagogy into their educational framework. We've been working with them. And it's all about creating environments where children can thrive and learn through play. And really my passion lies in spreading that awareness of the significance of play in children's learning and development, whether it's through workshops, training sessions or discussions like today. I'm really dedicated to sharing insights on how play shapes children's holistic development. So in Scotland, Play Scotland is the lead organisation in promoting children and young people's play. We were established in 1998. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. And our mission right from the start is to ensure that play is valued, prioritised and part of everyday life for children. And as advocates for play and child-centred practice, we work to achieve high quality, accessible, free play for all children, and that play should be inclusive for all children as well, regardless of their abilities or their backgrounds. We collaborate closely with stakeholders, including the Scottish Government, policymakers, educators, parents and different communities as well. And we really strive to integrate play into all aspects of childhood. We support national developments on children's rights, such as play sufficiency duty and the incorporation of the UNCRC into Scots law to help every child reach their full potential and confidently inhabit that inclusive public space and shape those child-friendly communities. And we really believe that play is the best way to learn, as it integrates those various forms of learning, and it really is essential for a happy, healthy childhood. So these are our current aims at Play Scotland. So let me just quickly start to talk about the heart of our work, which is the play agenda in Scotland. We're committed to improving attainment through play, promoting physical literacy, ensuring children's voices and opinions are listened to, and enhancing access to public spaces. And our focus on inclusion, addressing issues like disability and poverty remains a constant for us right from the start. And we're also exploring the right to play for older children as well, because sometimes those are forgotten about. And the other thing we do is trying to help children, families and educators navigate those digital influences on play experiences, because that's something that's it can be quite, I don't know whether in Ireland you've got the whole thing about mobile phones and skills and things, so it's really difficult to get that sort of balance right, so we help with that. In Scotland we're really fortunate. Our government has recognised the importance of play since 2013 with the establishment of our national play strategy, which we also developed with them. And we're actually in the process of redoing that at the moment, so we're actually renewing the play strategy just now. Our vision is really ambitious. We want Scotland to be the best place for children to grow up. I'm sure maybe in Ireland you'd maybe disagree with that you want Ireland to be the best place for children to grow up. I'm sure we can have it both ways. And at Play Scotland, our mission is really clear: to ensure that all children and young people have that equal access to diverse and quality play experiences that meet their individual needs. And that can mean early intervention through play and creating more and better play opportunities indoors and outdoors, at home, in early learning, childcare, schools, the community, and that is part of a strategy. We believe that every child should enjoy high quality play, especially free play, and stimulating play spaces with daily access to nature. So, and the other thing as well, which is quite tricky in schools, Scotland's variable weather, we try not to see that as a barrier, but actually as an integral part of an experience. And I say that as a trained forest kindergartner who has been out in all weathers: rain, hail, snow, sun, wind, and that's just one day in Scotland. Just, what is it they say? There's no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing. So that's always an important thing. dress properly and it's not as bad. And we really do advocate for daily outdoor experiences, as we know that the benefits to health and wellbeing are really well documented, and that is actually forms part of the key aspects of our play strategy in Scotland. So moving on to the UNCRC Article 31, this is our sort of bread and butter really, this is our sort of push at Play Scotland. It's known as to define the children's right to play really, and it's often described as the article that most wholly represents the children's right to be a child. And the importance of play in children's day-to-day lives for their health and wellbeing is increasingly becoming recognised in a range of policies that are affecting children. However, despite this, Article 31 is often described as one of the forgotten articles of the Convention, which is quite sad. And as well as recognising children's right to play, Article 31 also highlights the adult's responsibility in ensuring this right as well. So it's such an important one, so we can't forget about it. We need to publicise it and make sure it's not forgotten. So the UNC has recently been enshrined in law in Scotland, which is absolutely fabulous, and really has never been more important to recognise and uphold children's right to play. It was given royal assent, I think, at the end of last year, and will be incorporated into Scots law in July. So that actually means that we now in Scotland have a legal obligation to uphold children's right to play. So there's never been a better time to talk about it and promote it. So I'd love to share this quote with you. This is one of my favourite quotes actually from Sue Palmer. So it's a great quote, and I really think it captures our mission at Play Scotland. So it really is it's one of the reasons why we drive that play agenda in Scotland. And it's because we know it works and it's crucial to the development of children and young people. You know, I think it's whenever we take it for granted, you know, it's one of the things we take for granted, and it's only when it disappears we realise how important it actually is. And I think that's something that we really need to be aware of. You know, and if you think about maybe your own childhood, maybe that differs very much from the childhood of children today. You know, the children don't have that sense of freedom that maybe they had, you know, whenever, certainly I'm a bit older, you know, whenever I was young, where you would go out to play and you wouldn't come back till like maybe the street lights came on. You didn't have mobile phones in those days, you know, and children really nowadays are not really experiencing the same way of playing as we did. So one of the most exciting recent developments in Scotland is the growing interest in play pedagogy, which is my baby. I love play pedagogy, that's what I do at Play Scotland. And this child-centred approach really empowers children to lead their own learning by providing flexible opportunities for exploration, experimentation and discovery. I think as well it's one of those things that we'll look at how play actually changes as we go through the school. That, you know, children, sometimes people think about play as, you know, sort of small children getting messy, water, sand, all these sort of things. And then as you go up to school, because maybe children, maybe primary 7, are not interested in doing that as much, we actually start to sort of think, well, actually what they're doing is not play. But then what we need to do is think about more of the play actually develops into exploration, experimentation and discovery. And at Play Scotland, we firmly believe that play pedagogy fosters that inclusion by recognising and valuing each child's unique strengths and abilities. So by embracing this approach, we encourage educators to be supportive and create supportive environments where all children can feel engaged and empowered to learn. So it's not all about just learning to pass exams, it's giving children these critical skills that they can actually transfer into adulthood, really, you know, problem solving, sharing, empathy, all these things that we actually can develop through play that actually, maybe it's not something that we test on at school, but again, it would be something that we can bring into adulthood. I've been really lucky over the years. I've had the privilege to work with some really outstanding educators who integrate those play experiences with curricular learning. And every time I go into a school like that, actually I was in a school like that this morning, I've noticed that when actually it's more this sort of play experiences with curricular learning, children are more motivated and classroom behaviour really improves as they become more engaged. And I always remember taking a photographer into one of the schools I was working with, and I think he sort of expected all the children to be all smiley and be all sort of ready for their photographs, and he was like, it's so quiet. And I was saying to him, but it's so quiet, because if you have a look around, all those children are so engaged in their play, they're so engaged in what they're doing, that actually you could have heard a pin drop in the class, because it was fantastic. So we really believe that play pedagogy is the best way to learn, because it integrates various forms of learning, and most importantly, it's enjoyable and it's fun, which is something that I think whenever when we think about children going into school, and maybe, I don't know if you've got this problem in Ireland about maybe children maybe post-COVID find it very difficult to come back into school. If you can make school a place where actually it's enjoyable and it's somewhere they want to go, why wouldn't you do that, really? And they're learning. So play provides opportunities for children to develop confidence, self-esteem and that sense of security, realise their potential, use creativity and imagination. I think particularly for play pedagogy, that is something we really, really important, that creativity. And I suppose it's a bit like that thing where, you maybe would do, I don't know if you do a lot of loose parts play over, we all used to do a lot of junk modelling, and you would give children, like lots of different things, boxes and like bottle tops and things like that, and you would sort of say to them, right, let's make a car. And a child in the nursery or primary one would make a car, and it would maybe have 15 windows and 10 wheels. And you hand the same stuff over to a child maybe in primary 4, and they would say, well, what's it supposed to look like? And that is whenever we are actually starting to knock out that creativity with the children. And that's something that we need to get children to actually become creative and embrace that creativity through life, really. It also helps them develop reading, thinking, problem solving skills and motor skills, learn how to control their emotions and understand and interpret the world around them, which is really, really important. Because the good thing about play is there's no mistakes in play. If you do it wrong, you can just try it again. It's practice for real life. They can all learn relationships, social skills and develop values and ethics as well. So we're really lucky because over the last decade in Scotland, policymakers have increasingly recognised the interconnectedness of learning, development and play. And that realisation has led to the integration of play into lots of our educational policy frameworks and guidance. As well as that, there's been a growing emphasis on listening to children's voices and allowing them to take the lead here as well. However, as a teacher, I know that can be really difficult because implementing these changes requires that significant cultural shift in schools, and it really is challenging the traditional role of the adults as that primary driver of learning, and that can be really difficult to sort of take a sort of step back, really, rather than trying to show them how to do things properly. So fortunately, our curriculum has evolved towards a more play and active learning focused approach in recent years, and it really recognises the value of play in fostering engagement and enjoyment while offering challenge as well, because that's really important. The shift from teaching to learning and co-construction is really evident in resources like Education Scotland, Realising Ambition Being Me, which really actually provides practical guidance for educators working with children from 0 to 7. But I actually think it's very valuable for all educators. It can be accessed online by searching for Education Scotland, Realising Ambition Being Me. It's a very, very good read for anybody. And actually this is a graphic from Realising Ambition, and it really highlights the key points of child-centred pedagogy. So first of all, prioritising the child. It emphasises the child's active role in learning through our observation and documentation. Then we look at the observation techniques. It really suggests that attentive listening and attention to non-verbal cues, because children don't always tell you things by using their voice. Obviously sometimes it can be non-verbal cues, and that can help us understand each child's development and need as well. Meaningful documentation is really important. So I know when we do things like learning stories or portfolios, and as well as those being informative for educators, they also have to be very meaningful for children and families, because if they're not, then they're pretty pointless. Responsive planning helps us balance children's interests with intentional educational goals. looking at teacher facilitation. It creates that diverse indoor and outdoor experiences based on children's actions and their emotions. And again, it's that observation, isn't it? That circle of observation, interpretation, the responsive intentional planning and that facilitation. And again, it's that collaborative approach as well, which involves teachers, children and families in creating a supportive learning environment. And I really think that focusing on these elements really fosters those environments where children feel valued, they feel understood and they feel empowered to learn. And again, I'm just going to say again, it's a document aimed at early education. However, as you can see, I think it's got information that's relative to everyone who works with children, regardless of stage of development. And I'm a great sort of browbeater of this. I think it's a great document, it really is. And I don't get paid to say that, I just like to point out it's a free document. So empowering children through play. Over the years, I've worked in lots of different schools and lots of different areas and lots of different sort of backgrounds. You know, I've worked in sort of quite affluent areas, I've worked in deprived areas, and it really is expanded, you know, what I sort of see with children. And I really believe, though, that empowering children to lead their learning, fostering the skills they need to thrive, is really, really important. And in Scotland, there's now a shift towards valuing children's individuality and voices as well, as I mentioned earlier. And I think post-COVID, play is so crucial for children's holistic development and mental health as well. And at Play Scotland, we've witnessed the benefits of theory-led play pedagogy firsthand, and we aim to expand this approach nationwide through our Play Pedagogy Award. And at Play Scotland, we already have lots of resources promoting play, which are free on our website. If anybody wants to have a look at them afterwards, they're free to download. And our award really addresses the need for that strategic support and recognition for theory-led practice. And our goal is to inspire schools to adopt play pedagogy across the whole primary education. So not just in primary one, we're looking for a play pedagogy approach across the whole school. And that really enhances those understanding and appreciation of play's importance. So I'm going to show you this little, I'm hoping that actually the sound works, but it's a great little, it's from Peter Gray, and it's Play in Education, and it lasts about a minute. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm hoping this will work. So shout on me if it doesn't.
Why are children playing? They're playing because they are instinctively driven to play. Their nature wants to make them play. So then you could ask the question, well, why does their nature make them want to play? And as an evolutionary psychologist, I say that that's because over the course of evolution, natural selection selected this kind of behavior, created the neural mechanisms that motivate play, and play in certain kinds of plays, especially social play with other children. This occurred as the way of ensuring that children will practice and learn the skills and values and knowledge that they need to acquire in order to develop ultimately as adults in the culture in which they develop. So play is ultimately serving the function of education.
So I really love that little slide. I think it's great. Just doing it again. Right. So I think, oh no, I haven't missed a slide there. So at Play Scotland, we're enhancing our existing play resources with our 3-stage Play Pedagogy Award. And our goal is to inspire primary schools and educators to embrace a play pedagogy approach. So this tells you a little bit about the sort of aims of our award. And we'll support schools in integrating play into their ethos, their practice and safeguarding play times as well. The award involves planning, implementation and assessment stages, with the schools sharing their journey towards prioritising play. And each journey will vary. You know, obviously we're doing a little pilot just now, and I've got a school right in the top of Shetland, right down to the borders of Scotland. I've got massive schools in Glasgow, a tiny little school out in East Lothian. So we've got lots and lots of different schools who will all, at play pedagogy, will look very, very, very different in each of those schools. but they will reflect the school's context and the developmental needs of the children. So this is just the 3 stages of reward. I thought I would just quickly just show them to you as well. It really offers that transformative journey for schools, consisting of these 3 stages. So we have a plan stage, which is our foundation stage, which involves self-evaluation and creating an improvement plan. It's about assessing strengths, identifying areas for growth, and sketching the blueprint for play-based transformation. Our play phase, which is the action-orientated phase, so where plans are implemented, they're reflected upon and adjusted when they're needed. Reflection really guides that process and ensures that ongoing momentum and impact, with evidence serving as that currency to showcase progress. And our last one is the presentation stage. So that's where schools actually share their unique play pedagogy journey, and they're going to narrate their story backed by evidence that they've collected. And we ask for just evidence they would normally collect, because I'm not sure if it's the same in Ireland, but certainly in Scotland, teachers have a lot of evidence and paperwork to do anyway, so we don't want to make their life any harder. And it really shows that implementation, that evaluation across all the award strands. And looking ahead, they look at that sort of long-term strategy, which ensures that sustainability and continual growth in the school as well. So this is our 5 strands. So it's we did this sort of comprehensive framework that enables us to transform their approach to learning, really. We're focused on 5 strands: leadership, pedagogy and curriculum, learning environment, indoors and out, community, or should I say outdoors and in. So we decided to try and shift that over, because I think we focus an awful lot on indoors rather than actually focusing on outdoors. So by sort of moving that across the way, we've sort of tried to focus a lot more on the sort of outdoors. And then obviously we've got community as well, which is really important, and professional learning. And I think we can create a vibrant, inclusive educational environment where really play thrives and every child has the potential to reach their full, opportunity to reach their full potential there. So one area where inclusive play is particularly important is supporting transitions for children, especially with those with additional support needs. And really by incorporating those play-based approaches into transition planning, we can help children feel more comfortable and confident during those times of change and ensure that their unique needs are met. So in Scotland, we have the Scottish Early Childhood Children and Families Transition Position Statement, which is not an easy thing to say, where you have to say transitions, positions. It's very, very complicated, but it emphasises that importance of recognising transitions as that ongoing process rather than just isolated events. And I'm sure you've probably all studied about vertical transition and horizontal transitions, and a lot of children actually make these horizontal transitions a lot in one day. So I think, again, it's that not just thinking about the big transitions that we look at, obviously moving from nursery to primary school, from primary school to high school, those are huge transitions, but actually sometimes moving from primary 1 to primary 2, that's actually quite a big transition for people as well. So I actually suggest principles and actions to improve transition experiences, such as focusing on stability during change, supporting families in providing that continuity, and fostering collaborative partnerships among educators and settings. And really by implementing these principles and the recommendation, we really in Scotland, we aim to improve transition experiences for children and families across those early childhood settings in primary schools. So this is actually at the bottom here, we've got our successful transitions, and that they require obviously collaboration, respect for diverse perspectives, and that focus on children's holistic development and well-being. And these are the 6 principles as well: aspiration, expectation, opportunities, entitlements, participation, and contribution. So creating inclusive play environments is essential for promoting inclusion in early childhood settings as well. And these environments should be accessible to all children, and they should celebrate diversity and foster collaboration among children of different abilities and backgrounds. And our play strategy in Scotland really emphasises that every child and young person should have that opportunity to play daily. The strategy is founded on 3 key principles. We should value all children and young people. We should enable all children and young people to realise their right to play, and all children and young people should have the space and time to play. And by adhering to these principles, we can create play environments that support the development and well-being of every child, ensuring that no one is left out. So a wee bit of myth busting here. Inclusive play does not mean that every aspect of the play space is accessible to all. Instead, what it means is that the combination of activities, resources, materials and spaces enable each child to have an equally brilliant experience. So some children can't climb to the top of the rope. Some children don't want to climb to the top of the rope, me, because I don't like heights. And others though will really need to climb to the top of that rope. And the same is true with quieter, more creative activities. Diverse and flexible opportunities are really, really needed. And remember, you don't need to complicate things, but you do need to be carefully consider your environment. And that, again, I always think Reggio Emilia environment is the third teacher, and that is so important. If you can get your environment right, you're halfway there. So looking at inclusive play spaces, first of all, opportunities. Creating a diverse and inclusive play environment means providing a variety of opportunities for children and young people, and it's about making different types of space available. So if we want to break it down, we can first of all look at physical activities. So you could provide spaces for things like running or wheeling, bikes, running, jumping, wheeling, things like that. Trees and logs for climbing and balance, and an area for ball games as well. And also don't forget about markings for chalk games and play equipment that offers different physical challenges, because every child will be different in what they actually want to do. And next week we'll focus on creative spaces. So it really is important to offer those quiet areas with natural materials for making things such as under the sort of canopies of trees or sensory domes for dens. And you may want to think about including a storytelling space and a sensory planting to support those various creative activities. And lastly, think about that social interaction. It's always good to designate areas for chatting or reading. Provide tables and chairs for board games, for card games. Try to ensure they're open spaces for group activities as well. So just some practical tips. Make spaces for children have the choice of busier, more active areas, but they also the opportunity to have quieter areas as well. Consider boundaries to reduce the scope for children to wander or other security issues. Think about quiet spaces that serve as time out areas for children who really need that. Some children can become really, really overwhelmed, and actually they need that quiet area, just to sort of self-regulate for a wee while. Include shelter for inclement weather, which we have a lot of in Scotland, and strong sun, which we don't really have a lot of in Scotland. And also think about seating. You might want to think about zoning the area for types of use and to avoid segregation as well. And if you implement these practical tips and offer that variety of spaces, really you can create an environment where all children feel included and engaged. So just moving on to a bit about inclusive play spaces. It's very, very important to engage in the senses for children. That's really crucial for their development and enjoyment. So if we think about how we could achieve that, firstly, when choosing materials and activities, we really should aim to explore all the senses. So things like incorporate interest in textures, shapes, solidity, so soft things, hard things, weight, patterns, colours, temperatures. By providing that variety of sensory experiences, you can stimulate curiosity and creativity in children. Next, think about heightening those sensory stimuli in some areas while reducing it in others to offer choice. Again, it's that stimulating areas, but then actually having those areas that are actually nice and quiet and relaxing for those children who are becoming overwhelmed. And that allows children to select environments that best suit their preference and needs, and it promotes autonomy and engagement. It's also really essential to consider children with sensory impairment as well. So provide elements that can be explored through touch, such as texture surfaces or objects with varied tactile qualities. And you want to sort of consider incorporating things like reflected light or strong colours in contrast for that visual stimulation as well. You can also introduce interest through sound and vibration. That's always an interesting one. And that really does create that multi-sensory experience for all children. And by engaging in the senses, you not only enhance that play experience, but you also promote that holistic development and inclusivity within the play environment. So recently, I've got some quotes here. These are quotes from children across Scotland, and these were collected for the State of Play in Scotland report. And it really gives us valuable insights into their view on inclusive play spaces, because if you want to know if things work, you ask children, because you'll get an honest answer. So for kids like me, we need a safe place to go. The things I can use and equipment I can access, also changing places and toilets I can use. My sister could also join in. She has a disability and nothing for her to do. For parks to be nicer looking, have accessible play equipment in them, it's also good to have more groups locally that cater for children with any additional support needs, including physically disabled. And these voices really highlight the importance of creating those inclusive play spaces that accommodate those diverse needs and abilities for children. And obviously we've been trying to make places more inclusive for years, but these quotes actually still remind us that we actually still have some way to go with that to make it fully inclusive for children, which is obviously the aim. So when we think about building partnerships with families and communities, it's really crucial for promoting inclusive play, because obviously it's the whole family rather than just the child, really. And as stated in the quote from Getting It Right for Play by ourselves at Play Scotland, wherever you live, children and young people of all ages, abilities and interests should be able to play in a variety of ways in high quality spaces, within sight of their homes, or within easy walking distance where they feel safe, whether or not they are accompanied by adults. And I think by working collaboratively with parents, caregivers and the community members, we can create a support network that enhances children's play experiences and promotes a sense of belonging for all children. And these partnerships not only enrich those play opportunities, but also ensure that play spaces are accessible, safe and inclusive for every child in the community, which is really, really important. So when you think about participating in communities of practice, whenever you're sort of chatting to other educators, that's so important. It can really provide valuable opportunities for educators to share that knowledge, share good practice, resources, and really those best practices related to inclusive play. And these communities foster collaboration and peer support, and that enables educators to learn from one another and continuously improve their inclusive practices as well. This is one of the aims of the Play Pedagogy Award that I spoke about earlier, and it really is connecting people and sharing good practice, as by engaging in communities of practice, educators can stay informed about the latest developments, they can exchange ideas, they can talk about what works, what doesn't work, and they can collectively work towards creating more inclusive and enriching play environments for all children. So moving on, I'm going to move on a wee bit to loose parts theory. So in 1971, architect Simon Nicholson introduced the theory of loose parts in his article entitled, fantastically, I love this, The Theory of Loose Parts, How Not to Cheat Children. I can't say it. Which I think is a fantastic title. Nicholson theorised that loose parts resources such as bricks, tyres, wooden planks offer children opportunities to play, experiment, discover, invent and have fun as well. And these materials can be freely moved, designed and redesigned. They can provide children with a greater scope for natural creativity and inventiveness compared to those sort of static play equipment or pre-designed toys that just really do the one thing. So this is a little thing that I've actually developed here. It's based on the loose parts theory. Loose parts theory, it's closely connected to the theory of affordances, which is pioneered by psychologist James J. Gibson. Now, according to Gibson, we perceive our environment not merely as static objects, but as a collection of opportunities and experiences for action and meaning. And those affordances refer to the various elements in our surroundings that support our needs and can be adapted to meet our needs. So, for example, a good example of this would be a staircase, right? So the main primary purpose for a staircase is to to ascend or descend between levels. However, that also offers the opportunities for sitting, sliding, or even climbing. And these additional uses demonstrate the affordances of the staircase beyond its intended function. So likewise, loose parks and play environments provide children with a multitude of affordances, encouraging that exploration, that creativity and adaptability in their play experiences. So we have our loose parks, we have a loose parks play kit toolkit even, which you can actually download free from our website. It really has great detailed advice on the practicalities of introducing loose parts to your setting, and it includes things like assessing your current provision, developing an action plan, getting other staff, parents and carers on board, that can be the tricky bit, and acquiring loose parts storage and maintenance as well. An example, Nicholson's example of variables may be surprising, as alongside the expected, such as materials, actually there also sits a variety of less commonly thought of variables. So while we've got things like boxes and cardboard boxes, you know, your sort of usual things, materials and shapes, boxes, crates, things like that. Also things like smells and other physical phenomena. So things like electricity, gravity, magnetism. I always love, the children always think you're a magician whenever you can move things with magnets. I absolutely love doing that. Gases and fluids, something as simple as water, sounds and music, motion, chemical interactions such as cooking and fire, other humans as well, which again is loose parts which we don't think about, plants, words, concepts and ideas. And he really believed that children love to play, they love to experiment and discover with all these things, which are also great fun. And put simply, loose parts can create rich environments where children can follow their interests, engage their natural curiosity and experiment, which is fantastic. And that all blurs the distinction between that learning and play and nurtures that more child-centred approach to learning as well. I always think play's great. I always call it stealth learning because children don't actually realise that they're learning sometimes. So just to clarify, what is loose parts and what are not. So loose parts don't need to be large or expensive or cost anything at all. Builders' yards are always brilliant, you know, if they've got anything at all, or have a purpose. They don't have to have a purpose. Instead, loose parts can be open-ended materials. They can be rich in variety, readily available, everyday items that you can have around the house or the school. And really by understanding these distinctions, we can effectively utilise loose parts to promote creativity, exploration, see where I'm going here, it's these words again, and learning in play environments. And this is this is downloadable from our website. This is our loose parts play, just so you know what you're looking for. So whenever we think about managing risks as well in loose parts, they should be safe enough for children to use. It is really important to implement a system to check new loose parts and ensure maintenance of existing resources as well. You know, obviously you've got things like choking hazards. And once you establish your supply of loose parts, these should be regularly checked before, during and after playing, because obviously things like nails and things can happen, and scalps and things. And any new loose parts should follow the process, and we've got lots of details in our toolkit if you wanted to have a look. You should also risk assess your loose parts practice and that provision using a risk benefits assessment. So risk benefits assessment really is an approach to risk management which considers the benefits alongside risk. It's also taking a balanced and proportionate approach to risk assessment processes, and it works best where all parties, children, staff and parents are involved. And again, it is that balance, isn't it? That proportionate approach to risk. There's quite a lot of guidance on how to risk benefits assessment in our loose parts toolkit. But most of what it can be done dynamically as the play happens, and all play can be considered risky, but it's vitally important that we continue to allow children a variety of experiences. That's really important. So one of the main focuses again of the play strategy was to promote risk and challenge in play. And I'm sure that I don't need to tell you the importance of children learning to assess and manage their own risk and the impact that these opportunities can have on their self-esteem and resilience. So just quickly, Allowing risk in play fosters resilience. It enables children to navigate life's unpredictable nature. Again, it prepares them for adulthood, for being a grown-up. It helps them assess their capabilities and their limitations. It turns them into effective learners with that can-do attitude, which is so important. And by embracing challenges, it instills persistence and enhances learning. And risk-taking in play cultivates that creativity, it sharpens innovation, and it improves critical social skills and risk management. And if you have a little look at this quote on the slide here by Gleave, it really warns that denying these opportunities may lead to a society of risk-averse citizens. You know, we all talk about cotton wool kids who are ill-equipped to handle everyday challenges, or children who, on the other hand, seek risks in a more dangerous setting. And I'm really glad that I encouraged my son to assess and manage his own risk. So, for example, when crossing the road, you know, obviously when he was wee, I used to hold his hand. But obviously over the years, you know, you sort of help them develop that scaffolding. You know, you sort of develop like him to like look left, look right, listen for the cars. He's now 25 and he's 6'2". And as much as he loves his mum, I don't think he would want me to be still holding his hand to cross the road. And again, it's that striking that right balance between protecting children from the most serious risks and allowing them to reap the benefits of play. But it's not about eliminating risk, nor is it about complicated methods of calculating risks or benefits. In essence, play is a safe and beneficial activity, and really we're looking for that sensible adult judgment are all that is generally required to derive the best benefits to children, while ensuring that they're not exposed to unnecessary risks. And I think that statement really underscores the importance of understanding that play inherently involves a level of risk, but it is thought through sensible adult judgment that we can ensure children's safety while allowing them to enjoy the countless benefits of play. So I was going to show you this little video, but I actually think I've run out of time, so I'll just quickly go past it. We also do Opal at Play Scotland, so we've got a fantastic school called Udston Primary, which they've really completely transformed their playtime with the help of our Opal mentor, Dr. Simon Knight. If you want, the video is available from the Play Scotland website, so if you go into Opal and have a little look, it's fantastic. It was a new built school on not a great area, huge big hill. What they did with it was just spectacular. I'll just, because I think we'll probably run out of time for that. So these are some of our resources that are available to download free online. They really are tailored to enhance understanding of the power of play. So we have our Playwell packs, and those provide practical insights and ideas. We also do a Playwell podcast, which really offers engaging discussions on play pedagogy and innovative practices. I did one just recently with Peter Moorhouse about woodworking in early years, which was fascinating. Additionally, our Play Ideas booklets really are a treasure trove of inspiration for incorporating great creativity play into your educational settings or at home, and really empower you to create that vibrant play-centric learning environment. As I mentioned earlier, I was talking about the state of play in Scotland. These are our newest reports, and they really offer that invaluable perspective on the state of play in society. So we've also got our children, young people and placemaking in Scotland, and that delves into the relationship between children's rights, their sense of place and the need for their voice to be heard in decision-making processes. Our perspectives on play comes from our Better Break Times, Better Transitions project, and that was actually aimed at enhancing children's wellbeing during breaks and facilitating smoother transitions between primary and secondary education. So there's an awful lot of focus on nursery to primary, but actually our focus there was on secondary, and again the state of play, and that combines findings from 4 studies, and it showcases the enduring importance of play in children's lives. These are all available, as I said, free from our website. The last thing I'm going to say is become a Play Scotland member. It's free. You don't have to live in Scotland to join us. If you want to use a QR code to sign up or visit our website, memberships include discounts on training courses. We do a lot of online training courses, so you don't even have to be in Scotland to join in. We do workshops, networking events. We send regular e-updates, newsletters and information on consultations as well. connection with others and the wider network of play provision across the 4 nations and beyond. And basically it's great. You know, we've got lots and lots of different benefits. So if you want to join today and be part of our vibrant play community, and thank you very much for having me today.
That's great. Thanks so much, Lisa and Fiona. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I know we're coming up on time, so I won't keep everybody too long. Okay, so just to say thanks to everybody for joining us for a webinar to celebrate the first United Nations International Day of Play. Emer, your introduction there at the start highlighted, I think, the journey that we have been on in Ireland in working towards placing the importance of play pedagogy at the centre of children's learning and development. And I think your point, Fiona, on wanting Scotland to be the best place for children to live, which is indeed what we want in Ireland as well. But it really is great that there is now, I suppose, a growing common understanding and acknowledgement of the importance of providing playful childhood experiences for all children, and that providing, I suppose, play experiences for all children is now viewed as a right of childhood and an indicator of a good place to live. Okay, so we hope that many countries will follow suit on that. So Fiona, your point on creating environments where all children can thrive and belong, I think, is really very important. The importance of family and community partnerships and the significance of understanding and supporting transitions, I think really resonated with me throughout your presentation, as it really links, I suppose, with our values here in the LINC programme, as we feel that they are, I suppose, they're really important elements of providing high quality, inclusive environments. So as you were talking, Fiona, a memory from the weekend, I think kept popping into my head, and especially there at the end when we're talking about play and the adult's role in play. You mentioned in your presentation, you know, that there's no mistakes in play, which there aren't. And to recognise, I suppose, all children's uniqueness. It made me giggle, I think, with a memory from the weekend. I was at Photo Island Wildlife Park with my 4-year-old daughter, who became a cheetah the minute we went into the park, and she needed to find her cubs, which she said that the birds had placed all over the park. And she only knew where to find these cubs. So we went in all sorts of directions for a time. And my 11-year-old son was with us as well, who wasn't too impressed about this because there was big signs that said recommended route, and he wanted to follow the recommended route. So I left them off and they manoeuvred their way around this. So James ended up becoming the bird. Sarah went on his back. She was a cheetah, and they followed the recommended route mainly to find all of these baby cheetahs, and I was given the job then to drop imaginary food to entice the baby cheetahs out. So I think that scenario kind of kept coming up for me as you were talking through your presentation. And just before we finish up then, I think with the day that's in it, I think I'd like to leave you all with a quote from the late wonderful David Whitebraid, and actually the quote that I have here kind of links with what we have been talking about this evening as well. So play in its rich variety is one of the highest achievements of the human species, alongside language, culture and technology. Indeed, without play, none of these other achievements will be possible. The value of play is increasingly recognised by researchers within the policy arena for adults as well as children, and the evidence mounts of its relationship with intellectual achievement and emotional well-being. So before we finish off, Fiona, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and expertise with us today on this very important day.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.